Dear friends, the Exodus story, and today when you go for the Maundy Thursday service, pay attention to the first reading from Exodus chapter 12, 1 to 14. The Exodus story has inspired many people in history, and many movements have risen up. Even today, projects have risen up giving the name Exodus. Martin Luther King was inspired by this to fight for civil rights in America, to bring freedom to the black people, to help people recognize that they have equal rights. It was the inspiration to abolish slavery at one time. Many were looked down as slaves, and it was the inspiration. This story was also the inspiration for the church understanding of the dignity of every man, that no man should be treated as a slave, no man should be oppressed. It was also the inspiration of the liberation theology in Latin America, fighting for the oppressed, because God is for every single person. So in today's first reading from Exodus chapter 12, what is significant is that in that reading, God says to the people of Israel, this will be the first month of your calendar, meaning a new calendar, because the people that was in slavery in Egypt was used to the calendar of the Egyptians, which followed the agricultural seasons. Whereas God was telling his people that their life should follow God's calendar. And God's calendar begins with this event of the Exodus. That's why for us Catholics, the Eucharist is the center. Easter is the greatest feast of the church. And every Sunday when we come to celebrate the Eucharist, we are celebrating the resurrection of Christ. And so, brothers and sisters in Christ, how can we make this Exodus story our own story? First, we need to recognize our Egypt in our life. Who are the pharaohs? Who are those things in our life that are oppressing us, that are causing us pain and suffering? It could be people. It could be those things within us, that kind of internal critic always telling you are not good enough. And that is what Pharaoh was telling the Israelites in Egypt. You are not good enough. You have to be slaves. And they were treated badly. And they were crying out to God for salvation. And God raises up Moses to lead them out of slavery. And so we have to recognize, what are we enslaved to? What is oppressing us? Maybe it could be a bad habit. Maybe we are so bound by our digital usage that we cannot get freed of it. Maybe it's a sexual addiction. Maybe it's an addiction to television that is robbing us of peace and joy. So we need to recognize our Egypt and the pharaohs in our life. Secondly, we need to start with the end in mind. When God liberated the people from Egypt, the end in mind was to lead them to the promised land. And so we must have the vision of freedom. And in this story of the Exodus, we see that God first saved the people before he gave them the rules at Mount Sinai. So salvation comes first. Salvation is the very foundation of our Christian life, where we need to experience first God's love. And when God gives us rules, it is to help us to continue to live in freedom. And that's why today's First reading is connected to the Last Supper, where Jesus washes the feet of the disciples and gives us the command of love, because that is God's law, God's rule. We are free when we love one another, when we live according to God's plan. But first and foremost, we are saved. We are saved by God's love. For what reason? So that we can enter the promised land. And we are on that journey, and always keep that focus in our life. Thirdly, we need a Passover moment, just like the Israelites. In the first reading, we see they had to get ready to leave. They had to slaughter a lamb. That was a moment of decision to leave and to move forward. And we also need a certain Passover moment in our life where we have to make a commitment, a decision that we are going to give up certain things. We are going to stop watching certain movies, and we are going to move to a life of freedom. And so we need a Passover moment where we make that commitment, where blood is shed. We have to give up something, brothers and sisters in Christ, in order to be free. And thirdly, as we journey to the promised land, there is the desert waiting. We have to navigate the desert, the wilderness in our life, the challenges that we will face, to break all habit patterns. That's why the Israelites went into the desert, to break the habits that they had developed in Egypt, the old habits, the gods that they were depending on. And now they had to learn to trust God completely. So, brothers and sisters in Christ, as we enter into this high point of our Lenten season, the Easter Triduum, we are entering into the journey of experiencing God's love, the God who came to save us. That is the starting point, brothers and sisters in Christ, of our own exodus in our life. God saving love in our life, and how He gave up His life to help you and I recognize that we are precious in His sight, that we are somebody in this world, and we are somebody because God makes us somebody. God makes us worthy. We are no longer free. We are liberated. And God invites us into this wonderful journey from passing from death to life. Just as Jesus died and He rose again from the dead, we too will rise up one day with God to live with God forever in happiness. God bless you, and may you have a blessed Triduum celebration and experiencing a wonderful Easter this Sunday. God bless you.